Good morning. So today I'm going to be reading more of the Bible. Why? Because it's a solid foundation, and it's honestly what's going to benefit people the most in life. And then if I had more time, then I would go through what I've been going through before, which is hidden potential. What page am I on? On page 84, and it's like 300 pages or 200 pages. 200 pages? 200 pages? 200 pages. So yeah, about a third of the way through that book. And yeah, we'll get back to it when I have time. I just have to go somewhere, so I'll be busy all day. But tomorrow I should be able to do a longer stream. So look out for that. Oh yeah? Oh yeah. Oh yeah? Oh yeah. Cool. What if I talk like this? That's not how you say it. I know, I didn't do my vocal warm-ups. I gotta do them. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Meow. Getting situated. Oops. Okay. Also, I'm in the Dota category. Oops. Is there a just reading category? That's not how it goes. Okay, no, hold on. Okay. Focus. Hey, where'd the book go? Hey, look, a book. Focus. You're not focusing. No, I don't care. What are we gonna be reading today? Oh, guess what? We're gonna be reading from Ecclesiastes. And yeah, if should I do Lamentations? No. Let's see. Yeah, because I'm gonna do Lamentations first. And if you don't, it's kind of hard. You'll be fine. You know how hard these tiny pages are to turn? Why are you using a tiny Bible? Honestly, I just like it because I love Castlevania, where you slay demons, or you slay vampires, and I guess demons and such. And just like the crest that's on the book is pretty cool. So, and yeah, I've kind of worn it out a little bit, but yeah. And it's an NIV Bible. Yeah. Know the scriptures. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hooah. Okay, hide that right there. Actually, it doesn't even show. It's fine. Okay. Lamentations. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. How like a widow is she. Hold on, give me a second. I gotta. Oops. I was gonna use. Okay, Lamentations. Turn it up. Oh, also I probably have the music too loud. Do you? Probably. Probably. This is gonna be an ASMR Bible reading. I hope you enjoy. But really, I'm not gonna do ASMR. I'm just stalling while I remember what I was doing. That's crazy talk because you already know what you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be reading a Bible and then realizing that you forgot to hit enter when you started streaming, and so it gave the wrong name when you started streaming. But it's okay. Oh yeah, I just remembered what I was gonna do, which is lower the volume for the music, because I do have it kind of loud. Click, 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 click. Yeah. Why am I being distracted by a bunch of stuff? I'm gonna stop looking at things and I'm gonna do. Actually, I'm just gonna do that. And then. What the heck? This whole time. That's so cool. I wish I knew I did that before. What's that? S&P is down 0.61% today. But if you're listening to this, you probably don't invest. Just kidding, you probably do, which is why I'm mentioning it. Because smart people read books, stupid people don't. Because literally, if you want to be smart, you literally have to read. That's just how it works. Or be around really intelligent people who read. Learn to love reading. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna fall behind and wonder why you're not doing well in life. Knowledge, wisdom, it's what is needed to be successful. So seek it out. Find someone who has it. Seek wise counsel. Oh yeah, I'm reading. Okay. Oh, my hair's crazy. It's always crazy. Okay. So, I'll be reading from the book of Lamentations. And point that up, sit up, get up, stand up for your rights. Okay, Lamentations. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. How like a widow is she, who once was great among the nations. She who was queen among the provinces has now become a slave. Bitterly she weeps at night. Tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, there is no one to comfort her. All her friends have betrayed her. They have become her enemies. After affliction and harsh labor, Judah has gone into exile. She dwells among the nations. She finds no resting place. All who pursue her have overtaken her in the midst of her distress. The roads to Zion mourn, for no one comes to her appointed festivals. All her gateways are desolate, like her priests groan. Oops. So I just noticed that there was a background noise, but I think that's just from the quality of the mic, there's not much I can do about that. Either that or I just don't know what I'm doing. Or both. Probably both. It's probably both. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna start at the beginning again. Why? Because. Otherwise, when I do clip this, I'd rather it be in a full piece. I'd rather have it in one piece. Because now the movie. Dance. Wait a minute. What the heck, man? Did I break it? Lamentations. How deserted lies the city, once so full of people. How like a widow is she, who once was great among the nations. She who was queen among the provinces has now become a slave. Bitterly she weeps at night. Tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, there is no one to comfort her. All her friends have betrayed her. They have become her enemies. After affliction and harsh labor, Judah has gone into exile. She dwells among the nations. She finds no resting place. All who pursue her have overtaken her in the midst of her distress. The roads to Zion mourn, for no one comes to her appointed festivals. All her gateways are desolate. Her priests groan. Her young women grieve, and she is in bitter anguish. Her foes have become her masters. Her enemies are at ease. The Lord has brought her grief because of her many sins. Her children have gone into exile, captive before the foe. All the splendor has departed from daughter Zion. Her princes are like deer that find no pasture. In weakness they have fled before the pursuer. In the days of her affliction and wandering, Jerusalem remembers all the treasures that were hers in days of old. When her people fell into enemy hands, there was no one to help her. Her enemies looked at her and laughed at her destruction. Jerusalem has sinned greatly, and so has become unclean. All who honored her despise her, for they have all seen her naked. She herself groans and turns away. Her filthiness clung to her skirts. She did not consider her future. Her fall was astounding. There was none to comfort her. Look, Lord, on my affliction, for the enemy has triumphed. The enemy laid hands on all her treasures. She saw pagan nations enter her sanctuary. Those you had forbidden to enter your assembly. All her people groan as they search for bread. They barter their treasures for food to keep themselves alive. Look, Lord, and consider, for I am despised. It is nothing to you, all you who pass by. Look around and see, is any suffering like my suffering? That was inflicted on me, that the Lord brought on me, in the day of his fierce anger. From on high he sent fire, sent it down into my bones. He spread a net for my feet and turned me back. He made me desolate, faint all the day long. My sins have been bound into a yoke. By his hands they were woven together. They have hung on my neck, and the Lord has sapped my strength. He has given me into hands of those I cannot withstand. The Lord has rejected all the warriors in my midst. He has summoned an army against me to crush my young men. In his winepress, the Lord has trampled virgin daughter Judah. This is why I weep, and my eyes overflow with tears. No one is near to comfort me, no one to restore my spirit. My children are destitute because the enemy has prevailed. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is no one to comfort her. The Lord has decreed for Jacob that his neighbor becomes his foes. Jerusalem has become an unclean thing among them. The Lord is righteous, yet I rebelled against his command. Listen, all you people, look on my suffering. My young men and young women have gone into exile. I called to my allies, but they betrayed me. My priests and my elders perished in this city, while they searched for food to keep themselves alive. See, Lord, how distressed I am. I am in torment within, and in my heart I am disturbed. For I have been most rebellious. Outside the sword bereaves, inside there is only death. People have heard my groaning, but there is no one to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my distress. They rejoice at what you have done. May you bring the day you have announced, so they may become like me. Let all their wickedness come before you. Deal with them, as you have dealt with me. Because of all my sins, my groans are many, and my heart is faint. How the Lord has covered daughter Zion with the cloud of his anger. He has hurled down the splendor of Israel from heaven to earth. He has not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. Without pity the Lord has swallowed up all the dwellings of Jacob. In his wrath he has torn down the strongholds of daughter Judah. He has brought her kingdom and its princes down to the ground in dishonor. In fierce anger he has cut off every horn of Israel. He has withdrawn his right hand at the approach of the enemy. He has burned in Jacob like a flaming fire that consumes everything around it. Like an enemy he has strung his bow. His right hand is ready. Like a foe he has slain all who are pleasing to the eye. He has poured out his wrath like fire on the tent of daughter Zion. The Lord is like an enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He has swallowed up all her palaces and destroyed her strongholds. He has multiplied mourning and lamentation for daughter Judah. He has laid waste his dwelling like a garden. He has destroyed his place of meeting. The Lord has made Zion forget her appointed festivals and her Sabbaths. In his fierce anger he has spurned both king and priest. The Lord has rejected his altar and abandoned his sanctuary. He has given the walls of her places into the hands of the enemy. They have raised a shout in the house of the Lord, and on the day of an appointed festival. The Lord determined to tear down the wall around daughter Zion. He stretched out a measuring line and did not withhold his hand from destroying. He made ramparts and walls lament. Together they wasted away. Her gates have sunk into the garden. Their bars he has broken and destroyed. Her king and her princes are exiled among the nations. The law is no more, and her prophets no longer find visions from the Lord. The elders of daughter Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have sprinkled dust on her heads and put on sackcloth. The young women of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes fail from weeping. I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground, because my people are destroyed, because children and infants faint in the streets of the city. They say to their mothers, "Where is bread and wine?" And they faint like the wounded in the streets of the city, as their lives ebb away in their mother's arm. How can I say for you? With what can I compare you, daughter Jerusalem? To what can I liken you, that I might comfort you, virgin daughter Zion? Your wound is as deep as the sea. Who can heal you? The visions of your prophets were false and worthless. They did not expose your sin to ward off your captivity. The prophecies they gave you were false and misleading. All who pass your way clap their hands at you. They scoff and shake their hands at daughter Jerusalem. In this city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth, all your enemies open their mouths wide against you. They scoff and gnash their teeth and say, "We have swallowed her up. This is the day we have waited for. We have lived to see it. The Lord has done what he has planned. He has fulfilled his word, which he decreed long ago. He has overthrown you without pity. He has let the enemy gloat over you. He has exalted the horn of your foes. The hearts of the people cry out to the Lord. Your walls of daughter Zion, let your tears flow like a river day and night. Give yourself no relief, your eyes no rest. Arise, cry out in the night, as the watches of the night begin. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of the Lord. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint from hunger at every street corner. Look, Lord, and consider whom you have treated like this. Should women eat their offspring, the children they have cared for? Should priest and prophet be killed in the sanctuary of the Lord? Young and old live together in the dust of the streets. My young men and young women have fallen by the sword. You have slain them in the day of your anger. You have slaughtered them without pity. As you summoned to a feast day, so you summoned against me terrors on every side. In the day of the Lord's anger, no one escaped or survived. Those I cared for and reared, my enemy has destroyed. I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod on the Lord's wrath. He has driven me away and made me walk in the darkness rather than light. Indeed, he has turned his hand against me, again and again, all day long. He has made my skin and my flesh grow old, and has broken my bones. He has besieged me and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead. He has walled me in so I cannot escape. He has weighed me down within chains. Even when I call out or cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has barred my way with blocks of stone. He has made my paths crooked. Like a bear lying in wait, like a lion in hiding, he dragged me from the path and mangled me, and left me without help. He drew his bow and made me the target of his arrows. He pierced my heart with arrows from the quiver. I became the laughing stock of all of my people. They mock me in song all day long. He has filled me with bitter herbs and given me gall to drink. He has broken my teeth with gravel. He has trampled me in the dust. I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. So I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I remember them, and my soul is downcast within. At this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassion never fails. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those who hope in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man to bear the yoke while he is young. Let him sit alone in silence, for the Lord has laid it on him. Let him bury his face in the dust. There may yet be hope. Let him offer his cheek to one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace. For no one is cast off by the Lord forever. Though he brings grief, he will show compassion. So great is his unfailing love, for he does not willingly bring affliction or grief to anyone. Affliction or grief. To crush underfoot all prisoners in the land. To deny people their rights before the Most High. To deprive them of justice will not the Lord see such things. Who can speak and have it happen in the Lord has not decreed it. It is not from the mouth of the Most High that both calamities and good things come. Why should the living complain when punished for their sins? Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. Let us lift up our hearts and our hands to God in heaven, and say, we have sinned and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. You have covered yourself with anger and pursued us. You have slain without pity. You have covered yourself with a cloud, so that no prayer can get through. You have made us scum and fuse among the nations. All our enemies have opened their mouths wide against us. We have suffered terror and pitfalls, ruin and destruction. Streams of tears flow from my eyes because my people are destroyed. My eyes will flow unceasingly without relief, until the Lord looks down from heaven and sees. What I see brings grief to my soul, because of all the women of my city. Those who were my enemies without cause hunted me like a bird. They cried to end my life in a pit and threw stones at me. The waters closed over my head, and I thought I was about to perish. I called on your name, Lord, from the depths of the pit. You heard my plea. Do not close your eyes to my cry for relief. You came near when I called you, and you said, do not fear. You, Lord, took on my case. You redeemed my life. Lord, you have seen the wrong done to me. Uphold my cause. You have seen the depth of your vengeance, and their plots against me. Lord, you have heard their insults, all their plots against me. While my enemies whisper and mutter against me all day long, look at me. Sitting or standing, they mock me in their songs. Pay them back when they deserve, Lord, for what their hands have done. Put a veil over their hearts, and may you curse beyond them. Pursue them in anger and destroy them from under the heavens of the Lord. How the gold has lost its luster, the fine gold become dull. The sacred gems are scattered at every corner. How the precious children of Zion, once worth their weight in gold, are now considered as pots of clay, the work of a potter's hand. Even jackals offer their breasts to nurse their young, but my people have become heartless like ostriches in the desert. Because of thirst, the infant's tongue sticks to the roof of its mouth. The children beg for bread, but no one gives it to them. Those who once ate delicacies are destitute in the streets. Those who brought up in royal purple now lie in ash heaps. The punishment of my people is greater than that of Sodom. Which has overthrown in a moment without a hand turned to help her. Their princes were brighter than snow and whiter than milk. Their bodies were ruddy than rubies, or more ruddy than rubies. Their appearances like lapis lazuli. But now they are blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones, has become as dry as a stick. Those killed by the sword are better off than those who die of famine. Rather with hunger, they waste away from lack of food from the field. With their own hands, compassionate women have cooked their own children, who became their food when people were destroyed. The Lord has given full vent to their wrath. He has poured out his fierce anger. He kindled a fire in Zion. They consumed her foundation. The kings of the earth did not believe, nor did any of the peoples of the world, that enemies and foes would enter the gates of Jerusalem. But it happened because of the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests, who shed within her the blood of the righteous. Now they grope through the streets, and if they were blind, they are so defiled with blood, that no one dares to touch their garments. Go away, you are unclean. People cry to them, away, away, don't touch me. When they flee and wander about, people among the nations say, they can stay here no longer. The Lord himself has scattered them. He no longer watches over them. The priests are shown no honor, the elders no favor. Moreover, our eyes failed, looking in vain for help. From our towers were watched for a nation that would not save us. People stalked us at every step, so we could not walk in our streets. Our end was near, our days were numbered. For our end had come. Our pursuers were swifter than eagles in the sky. They chased us over the mountains and lay in wait for us in the desert. The Lord's anointed over very life. The Lord's anointed over very life breath was caught in their traps. We thought that under his shadow we would live among the nations. Rejoice and be glad, daughter Edom. Yeah, you have. You who live in the land of Uz, but to you also the cup will be passed. You will be drunk and stripped naked. Your punishment will end, daughter Zion. He will not prolong your exile. He will not punish your sin, daughter Edom, and expose your wickedness. Remember, Lord, what has happened to us. Look and see our disgrace. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our home to foreigners. We have become fatherless, our mothers are widows. We must buy the water we drink. Our wood can be had only at a price. Those who pursue us are at our heels. We are weary and find no rest. We submitted to Egypt and Assyria to get enough bread. Our ancestors sinned and are no more, and we bear their punishment. Slaves rule over us, and there is no one to free us from their hands. We get our bread at the risk of our lives because of the sword in the desert. Our skin is hot as an oven, feverish from hunger. Women have been violated in Zion, and virgins in the towns of Judah. Princes have been hung up by their hands, elders are shown no respect. Young men toil at the milestones. Boys stagger under loads of wood. The elders are gone from the city gate. The young men have stopped their music. Joy is gone from our hearts. Our dancing has turned to mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Because of their hearts are faint. Because of these things our eyes grow dim. From Mount Zion, which lies desolate with jackals prowling over it. You, Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures from generation to generation. Why do you always forget us? Why do you forsake us so long? Restore us to yourself, Lord, that we may return. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and are angry with us beyond measure. Lamentations. Sad as hell. But yeah, the thing is, people became wicked, and God eventually just had enough. And it's not because he was impatient, but it's because he was teaching us. And why? Because the eternal way, start worshiping idols, start serving yourselves. literally they were punishing righteous people. The thing is, if you punish righteous people, like there's a reason why people fear Christians, especially like Satanists, the weakest people. Why? They're footstools. And they know if they attack a godly man, if they do something to a godly person, God will take everything from them if he so desires. Yeah, let his will be done. Okay, how much time do I have? It is 8 o'clock. I have a couple hours. Yes. Success. You received cookie. There are lessons to be learned by listening to others. Okie dokie. Literature club. What? Oh, sorry. Okay, so that was Lamentations, which is like pretty dark, and yeah, but it's hopeful. It gives some hope because it shows like God was really only punishing them because they were bad people. They turned away from them, and then that shows multiple times in First and Second Kings, and yeah, and in Judges when we're like, oh yeah, we want judges. I know we want kings, but then really like the only way like life was meant to work was with judges, which is why we have the Supreme Court and why we don't have a king, because kings don't work. Yeah. All dictatorships. So yeah, Ecclesiastes. Is it happier? I'm gonna just do Ecclesiastes, and then I'm just gonna do Song of Songs. And Song of Songs is about falling in love, and all this is written poetically, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Certainly. 35 minutes. Sweet. So Ecclesiastes. Everything is meaningless. The words of the teacher's son of... Oh, wait. I gotta get comfy. Peepo comfy. So cozy. I also have a jacket, but I'll just put it on now. Yeah. Wait a minute. Very warm. Well, okay. My immersion. Your immersion. Oops. Ow. Boop. Okay, Ecclesiastes. Everything is meaningless. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Why do people gain from all their labors, at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, every returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear is it's full of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, "Look, there is something new"? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. Wisdom is meaningless. I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, "Look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom, and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Pleasures are meaningless. I said to myself, 'Come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good.' But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with a wine and embracing folly. My mind still guided me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers, and a harem as well, the delights of man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom, and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? I say that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise have eyes in their heads, while the fools walk in the darkness. But I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. Then I said to myself, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? I said to myself, this too is meaningless, for the wise look like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both had been forgotten. Like the fool, the wise too must die. So I hated myself, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or foolish? Yet they will have control over all the fruit of my toil, into which I poured my effort and skill under the sun. This too is meaningless, so my heart began to despair over all my toilsome labor under the sun. For a person may labor with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and then they must leave all they own to another who has not toiled for it. This too is meaningless, and a great misfortune. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? All their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too I see is from the hand of God. For without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. A time for everything. There's a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him. Whatever it has already been and what will be has been before. And God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them, so that they may see that they are like animals. Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit brings upward, and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for the person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them? Oppression, toil, friendlessness. Again I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declared that the dead who had already died are happier than the living, who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has never been born, who has never seen the evil that is done under the sun. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom I am toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Two are better than one, because they have good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not easily broken. Advancement is meaningless. Better a poor but wise youth than one old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before him. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fulfill your vow to God. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifices of fools, who do not know what they are doing. Do not be quick with your mouth, and do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. A dream comes when there are many cares, and many words mark the speech of a fool. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin, and do not protest to the temple messenger. My vow was a mistake. Why should God be angry at what you say and destroy the work of your hands? Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, fear God. Riches are meaningless if you see the poor oppressed in a district, and justice and rights denied. Do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. The increase from the land is taken by all. The king himself profits from the fields. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Hey, you chase money, you're never going to be happy. If that is your number one, good luck. As God increases, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners, except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits no sleep. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun. Wealth hoarded to the harm of its own owners, or wealth is lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children, there is nothing left to them to inherit. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil, and they carry in their hands. This too is a grievous evil. As anyone comes, so they depart. And what do they gain, since they toil for the wind? All the days they eat in darkness, with great frustration, affliction, and anger. This is what I have observed to be good. This is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toil. Some labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given to them, for this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot, and to be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life, because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. I have seen another evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth, possessions, and honor, so that they lack nothing their hearts desire. But God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them, and strangers enjoy them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. Man may have 100 children and live many years, yet no matter how long he lives, if he cannot enjoy his prosperity and does not receive proper burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. It comes without meaning, it departs in darkness, and in darkness its name is shrouded. Though it never saw the sun or knew anything, it has more rest than does that man. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice over but falls to enjoy his prosperity, did not all go to the same place? Everyone's toil is from their mouth, yet their appetite is never satisfied. What advantage have the wise over fools? What do the poor gain by knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Better what the eye sees than roving of the appetite. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and what humanity is has been known. No one can contend with someone who is stronger. The more the worlds, the less the meaning. And how does that profit anyone? For who knows what is good for a person in life? During the few and meaningless days, they pass through like a shadow. Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone? A good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of everyone. The living should take this to heart. Frustration is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the songs of fools. Like the crackling of thorns under the pot, so is the laughter of fools. This too is meaningless. Extortion turns a wise person into a fool, and a bribe corrupts the heart. The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride. Do not be quickly provoked into your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. Do not say, why were the old days better than these? For it is not wise to ask such questions. Wisdom is like an inheritance. It is a good thing, and benefits those who see the sun. Wisdom is a shelter, as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it. Consider what God has done. Who can strain what he has made crooked? When times are good, be happy, but when times are bad, consider this: God has made the one as well as the other. Therefore no one can discover anything about their future. In this meaningless life of mine, I have seen both of these, the righteous perishing in their righteousness, and the wicked living long in their wickedness. Do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be over wicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? It is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. Wisdom makes one wise person more powerful than 10 rulers in a city. Indeed, there is no one on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins. Do not pay attention to every word people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you. For you know in your heart that many times you have yourself cursed others, and this I tested by wisdom, and I said, I am determined to be wise, but this was beyond me. Whatever exists is far off and most profound. Who can discover it? So I turned my mind to understand, to investigate, and to search out wisdom and the scheme of things, and to understand the stupidity of wickedness and the madness of folly. I find more bitter than death the woman who is a snare, whose heart is a trap, and whose hands are chains. The man who pleases God will escape her, but the sinner she will ensnare. Look, says the teacher, this is what I have discovered. Adding one thing to another to discover the scheme of things. While I was still searching, but not finding, I found one upright man among 1,000, but not one upright woman among them all. Well, this only have I found: God created mankind upright, but they have gone in search of many schemes. Who is like the wise? Who knows the explanation of things? The person's wisdom brightens their face and changes his hard appearance. Obey the king. Obey the king's command, I say, because you took an oath before God. Do not be in a hurry to leave the king's presence. Do not stand up for a bad cause, for he will do whatever he pleases. Sing a king's word, and since a king's word is supreme, who can say to him, what are you doing? Whoever obeys his command will come to no harm, and the wise heart will know the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and procedure for every matter. Though a person may be weighed down by misery, since no one can know the future, who can tell someone else what is to come? And so one has power over the wind to contain it. So no one has power over the time of their death. As no one is discharged in time of war, so wickedness will not release those who practice it. All this I saw as I applied my mind to everything done under the sun. There's a time when a man lords it over others to his own hurt. Then too I saw the wicked buried, those who used to come and go from the holy place and receive praise. In the city where they did this too is meaningless. When the sentence for a crime is not quickly carried out, people's hearts are filled with schemes to do wrong. Although a wicked person who commits 100 crimes may live a long time, I know that it will go better with those who fear God, who are revered before him. Yet because the wicked do not fear God, it will not go well with them, and their days will not lengthen like a shadow. There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth. The righteous will get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked will get what the righteous deserve. This too I say is meaningless. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun. When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, people getting no sleep day or night, then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it, no one can discover its meaning. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend. A common destiny for all. Ecclesiastes 9. So I reflected on all this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands. But no one knows whether love or hate awaits them. All share a common destiny, the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, the clean and the unclean, those who offer sacrifices and those who do not. As it is with the good, so with the sinful. As it is with those who take oaths, so with those who are afraid to take them. This is the evil in everything that happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes them all. The hearts of people, moreover, are full of evil, and there is madness in their hearts while they live. And afterward they join the dead. Anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better off than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward, and even their name is forgotten. Their love, their hate, and their jealousy have long since vanished. Never again will they have a part in anything that happens under the sun. Go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart. For God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless days, for this is your lot in life and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. I have seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all. Moreover, no one knows when their hour will come. As fish are caught in a cruel net, or birds are taken in a snare, so people are trapped by evil things. They fall unexpectedly upon them. Wisdom better than folly. Give me a second. I should use my other mugs. I have like a bunch of mugs. Why? Variety. Variety is fun and entertaining. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I also saw under the sun this example of wisdom that greatly impressed me. There was once a small city with only a few people in it, and a powerful king came against it, surrounded it, and built huge siege works against it. Rainbow Six Siege. Now there lived in that city a man poor but wise, and he saved the city by his wisdom. But nobody remembered that poor man. So I said, wisdom is better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are no longer heeded. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. As dead flies give perfume, a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. Even as fools walk along the road, they lack sense, and show everyone how stupid they are. If a ruler's anger rises against you, do not leave your post. Calmness can lay great offenses to rest. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, the sort of error that arises from the ruler. Fools are put in many high positions, while the rich occupy the low ones. I have seen slaves on horseback, while princes go on foot like slaves. Whoever digs a pit may fall into it. Whoever breaks through a wall may be bitten by a snake. Whoever quarries stones may be injured by them. Whoever splits logs may be endangered by them. If the axe is dull and its edges unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. If a snake bites before it is charmed, the charmer receives no fee. Words from the mouth of the wise are gracious, but fools are consumed by their own lips. At the beginning their words are folly, at the end they are wicked madness, and fools multiply words. No one knows what is coming. Who can tell someone else what will happen after them? The toil of fools worries them. They do not know the way to town. Woe to the land whose king has a servant, and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed is the land whose king is of noble birth, and whose princes eat at a proper time, for strength and not for drunkenness. Through laziness the rafters sag, because of the idle hands the house leaks. A feast is made for laughter, wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything. Do not revile the king even if your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird in the sky may carry your words, and a bird on the wing may report what you say. Ecclesiastes 11, my favorite. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes and 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Yeah. If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth, whether a tree falls to the south or to the north. In the place where it falls, there will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hand not be idle. For you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Remember your Creator while young. Light is sweet, and it pleases the eyes of the sun. However many years anyone may live, let them enjoy them all. But let them remember the days of darkness, for there were many. Everything to come is meaningless. You who are young, be happy while you are young, and let your heart give you joy in the days of your youth. Follow the ways of your youth, and whatever your eyes see, but know that for all these things God will bring you judgment. So then, banish anxiety from your heart, and cast off the troubles of your body, for youth and vigor are meaningless. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach, when you will say, I find no pleasure in them, before the sun and the light, and the moon and the stars grow dark, and the clouds return after the rains. When the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men stoop, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those looking through the window grow dim. When the doors to the street are closed, and the sound of grinding fades. When people rise up at the sound of birds, but all their songs grow faint. When people are afraid of heights, and of dangers in the streets. When the almond tree blossoms, and the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire no longer is stirred. Then people go to the eternal home, and mourners go along the streets. Remember him, before the silver cord is severed, and the gold bowl is broken. Before the pitcher is shattered at the spring, and the wheel broken at the wheel, and the dust returns to the ground came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything is meaningless. The conclusion of the matter. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. He pondered and searched out and said in order many proverbs. The teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. The words of the wise are like goads. They collected sayings like firmly embodied nails, given by one shepherd. Be warned, my son, of anything in addition to them. Of making many books there is no need, and much study wearies the body. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether evil or good. So try and do good, guys. Eating break. Okay, so how long has it been? So it's been 1 hour. And then I'm going to read Song of Songs, which will probably take about 30 minutes. And then, yeah, I'll game. So I'm going to drink this because it's good to have electrolytes to hydrate your body and stay strong. Look at that. It's going everywhere. To my raccoon wounds. And then I don't have a spoon to stir it. But guess what? You could just use the packaging to stir it. This whole time. Oh yeah. Also, I forgot to post it while streaming. But that's okay. Why? Because I don't care much. I'm just trying to chill. Yeah. I'll post tomorrow though. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Life on the outside ain't what it used to be. Ding 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 ding. Cheers. Delicious. It's actually delicious. The secret is sugar. Is it? Yeah, I think so. I forget. I don't know. Also, clean water. Electrolyte boost, and then... And then... And if I pour too much, then I'll drink it all, and then I'll be like, oh man, I gotta pee. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna take a short break, and then yeah, then I'll read Song of Songs, which is about falling in love. So I really enjoyed reading it. It's about the matters of the heart, the ways of the heart. So yeah, I will play that next, or I will be reading that next. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, hey. How you doing? Okay, so I will be starting Song of Songs, and it's not too long of a chapter. It should maybe take like 30 minutes. And then after that, we'll do some gaming. Which game? Ooh, time do I have? It's 9 o'clock. Actually, I think I'm just gonna read Hidden Potential instead because I don't have time. I only have like 2 hours. I have an hour and a half. And then, yeah, I'm busy. Busy. Adventures. Go on adventures, people. Okay, please. Besitos. Spend time with people you love. Find people worth loving. Quality people. Don't just give attention to the first people you meet. The first people that show you kindness. Because I know that's how I am. And yeah, you end up being loyal to the wrong people. So just be careful. And it's not even that they're the wrong people, it's just there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for everyone. Arcs, people. What's your next arc? And who will you be after your time skip? Just make a list and then just go through it. Amen. Okay. Monkey. Okay. I will now be reading Song of Songs. Solomon's Song of Songs. She. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delight than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder young women love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. Friends, we rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine. She, how right they are to adore you. Dark am I, yet lovely, daughters of Jerusalem. Dark like the dents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock, and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman besides the flock of your friends? Friends, if you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. I liken you, my darling, to a mar among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold, studded with silver. She, while the king was at his table, my perfume spread its fragrance. My beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are doves. She, how handsome you are, my beloved. Oh, how charming. And our bed is verdant. The beams of our house are cedars, our rafters are firs. She, I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. Like a lily among thorns is my darling among the young women. She, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my taste. Let him lead me to the banquet hall, and let his banner over me be love. Strengthen me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Listen, my beloved, look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice. My beloved spoke and said to me, Arise, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. See, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth, the season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land. The fig tree forms its early fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. He, my dove in the clefts of the rock, in the hiding places on the mountainside. Show me your face, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards. Our vineyards that are in bloom. She, my beloved is mine and I am his. He browses among the lilies until the day breaks and the shadows flee. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or like a young stag on the rugged hills. All night long on my bed I looked for him, for the one my heart loves. I looked for him but did not find him. I will get up now and go about the city. Though with streets and squares I will search for the one my heart loves. So I looked for him but did not find him. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. Have you seen the one my heart loves? Scarcely had I passed them. When I found the one my heart loves, I held him and would not let him go, till I had brought him to my mother's house, to the room of the one who conceived me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Who is this coming up from the wilderness, like a column of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and incense made from all the spices of the merchant? Look, it is Solomon's carriage, escorted by 60 warriors, the noblest of Israel, all of them wearing the sword, all experienced in battle, each with his sword at his side, prepared for the terrors of the night. King Solomon made for himself the carriage. He made it of wood from Lebanon. Its posts he made of silver, its base of gold. Its seat was upholstered with purple, its interior inlaid with love. Daughters of Jerusalem, come out and look, you daughters of Zion. Look on King Solomon wearing a crown, the crown with which his mother crowned him, on the day of his wedding, the day his heart rejoiced. He, how beautiful you are, my darling, oh how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats, descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep, just shorn, coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is alone. Your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with courses of stone. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of gazelles, that browse among the lilies, until the day breaks and the shadows flee. I will go to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of incense. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Descend from the crest of Ammon, from the top of Senir, the summit of Hermon, from the lion's den, and the mountain haunts of leopards. You have stolen my heart, my sister, my bride. You have stolen my heart. With one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace, how delightful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much more pleasing is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume more than my spice. Your lips drop sweetness as the honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under the tongue. A fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. You are a garden locked up, my sister, my bride. You are a spring enclosed, a sealed fountain. Your plants are an orchard of pomegranates, with choice fruits, with henna and nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with every kind of incense tree, with myrrh and aloes and all the finest spices. You are a garden fountain, a well of flowing water, streaming down from Lebanon. She, awake north wind and come south wind. Blow on my garden, that its fragrance may spread everywhere. Let my beloved come into his garden and taste its choice fruits. I have come into my garden, my sister, my bride. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I have drunk my wine and my milk. Friends, eat friends and drink your fill of love. Okie dokie. She, I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I have taken off my robe, must I put it on again? I have washed my feet, must I soil them again? My beloved thrust his hand through the latch opening. My heart began to pound for him. I rose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh. My fingers with flowing myrrh on the hands of the bolt. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him, but did not find him. I called him, but did not answer. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. They beat me, they bruised me, they took away my cloak. Those watchmen of the walls, daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my beloved, what will you tell him? Tell him I am faint with love. How is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women? How is your beloved better than others, that you so charge us? She, my beloved is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000. His head is purest gold, his hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves by the water streams, washed in milk, mounted like jewels. His cheeks are like beds of spice yielding perfume. His lips are like lilies dripping with myrrh. His arms are rods of gold, set with topaz. His body is like polished ivory, decorated with lapis lazuli. His legs are like pillars of marble, set on bases of pure gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as it is cedars. His mouth is sweetness itself. He is altogether lovely. This is my beloved. This is my friend, daughters of Jerusalem. Where has your beloved gone, most beautiful women? Which way did your beloved turn, that we may look for him with you? My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens, and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. You are as beautiful as Tirzah, my darling, as lovely as Jerusalem, as majestic as troops with banners. Turn your eyes from me, they overwhelm me. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is missing. Your temples behind your veil are like the house of pomegranate. 60 queens there may be, and 80 concubines, and virgins beyond number. But my dove, my perfect one, is unique, the only daughter of her mother, the favorite of the one who bore her. The young women saw her and called her blessed. The queens and concubines praised her. Friends, who is this that appears like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, majestic as the stars in procession? I went down to the grove of nut trees to look at the new growth in the valley, to see if the vines had budded or the pomegranates were in bloom. Before I realized it, my desire set me among the royal chariots of my people. Friends, come back, O Shulamite, come back, that we may gaze on you. Why would you gaze on the Shulamite as on the dance of Mahanaim? How beautiful your sandaled feet, O prince's daughter. Your graceful legs are like jewels, the work of an artist's hand. Your navel is a rounded goblet that never lacks blended wine. Your waist is a mound of wheat encircled by lilies. Your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are the pools of Heshbon, by the gate of Bath Rabim. Your nose is like the tower of Lebanon, looking toward Damascus. Your head crowns you like Mount Carmel. Carmel. Your hair is like royal tapestry. The king is held captive by its tresses. How beautiful you are and how pleasing, my love, with your delights. Your stature is like that of the palm, and your breasts like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree. I will take hold of its fruits. May your breasts be clusters of grapes on the vine. The fragrance of your breath like apples, and your mouth like the best wine. May the wine go straight to my beloved, flowing gently over lips and teeth. I belong to my beloved, and his desire is for me. Come, my beloved, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded. If their blossoms had opened, and if their pomegranates are in bloom, there I'll give you my love. The mandrakes send out their fragrance, and at our door is every delicacy, both new and old, that I have stored up for you, my beloved. If only you were to me like a brother who has nursed at my mother's breast, then if I found you outside, I would kiss you, and no one would despise me. I would lead you and bring you to my mother's house. She who has taught me, I would give you spiced wine to drink. The nectar of my pomegranates his left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? Until the apple tree I roused you. There your mother conceived you. There she was in labor, gave you birth. Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death, and jealousy unyielding as the grave. It burns like blazing fire, like a mighty flame. Many waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot sweep it away. If one were to give all the wealth of one's house for love, it would be utterly scorned. Friends, we have a little sister, and her breasts are not yet grown. What shall we do for our sister on the day she is spoken for? If she is a wall, we will build towers of silver on her. If she is a door, we will enclose her with panels of cedar. I am a wall, and my breasts are like towers. Thus I have become in his eyes like one bringing contentment. Solomon had a vineyard in Baal-Hamon. He let out his vineyard's attendants. Each was to bring for its fruit 1,000 shekels of silver. But my own vineyard is mine to give. The 1,000 shekels are for you, Solomon, and 200 are for those who tend its fruit. You who dwell in the gardens with friends in attendance, let me hear your voice. Come away, my beloved, and be like a gazelle, or like a young stag on the spice-laden mountains. And scene. So I could read Isaiah, but I'm probably going to get to the Gospels. Yep, got it. Probably going to do 1 Samuel next. I could also do Ruth. Okay, I'll do Ruth because it's super short, and then I'll just do Ruth now. What time? 36, 9, 12. I have about an hour. 1 p.m. I need to check traffic. 2 hours. Okay, so I have 2 hours, so I can be on for about an hour. What time is it now? So yeah, 10:30. Cut off at 10:30. Okay. Ruth. Naomi loses her husband and sons. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpath and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Naomi and Ruth returned to Bethlehem. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With the 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness, as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud. And she said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who would become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought you were still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Or would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." As this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpath kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me." Okay. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the 2 women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi," she told them. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord had brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned with Moab, accompanied by Ruth and the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Ruth meets Boaz in the grain field. Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you." "The Lord bless you," they answered. Boaz asked the overseer of his harvesters, "Who does the young woman belong to?" The overseer replied, "She is the Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the shells behind the harvesters." She came into the field and was remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled." At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes, that you have noticed me a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord," she said. "You have put me at ease by speaking kindly to your servant. Though I do not have standing of one of your servants." At mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come over here, have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar." When she sat down with the harvesters, she offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over, and she got up to glean. Boaz gave orders to his men. "Let her gather among the sheaves and don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her with the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her." So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted about an ephah. She carried it back to town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered. Ruth also brought up and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. Her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she had been working. "The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz," she said. "The Lord bless him." Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead," she added. "The man is our close relative. He is one of our guardian redeemers." Then Ruth the Moabite said, "He even said to me, 'Stay with my workers until they finish harvesting all my grain.'" Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It will be good for you, my daughter, to go with the women who work for him, because if someone else fields in someone else's field, you might be harmed." So Ruth stayed close to the women of Boaz, gleaned until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. Ruth and Boaz at the threshing floor. One day Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there's another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning." So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized, and he said, No one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor. He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and placed the bundle on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her, and added, He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed." Then Naomi said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today." Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along. Boaz said, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." So he went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, "Sit here," and they did so. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of those seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line." "I will redeem it," he said. Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property." At this, the guardian redeemer said, "Then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it." Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, "Buy it yourself," and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, "Today you are a witness that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Malom. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Malon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses." Then the elders and all the people at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrath and be famous in Bethlehem, through the offspring the Lord gives you by his young women. May your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah." Naomi gains a son. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you. Without a guardian redeemer, may he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, and who is better than you, than 7 sons, has given him birth." Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for her. The woman living there said, "Naomi has a son," and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez is the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. David. And then after this is 1 Samuel, which is about King David, the boss. He was given too much. But I'll be saving that for later though. How much later? Tomorrow. Tomato. Save it for tomato. Oh yeah. Secondly. Saktia. Wait. Oh. Saktia. So I have 1 hour, and I think I could get through the chapter in an hour. If not, then I'm gonna have to cut myself off. 1 second. Let's see. Next on chapter 1, part 2, chapter 1. So it's like a 3-page introduction and then about 20 pages. It's about 20 pages. Easy. Okay, so I'm gonna read 20 pages and then I'm probably just gonna end because yeah, I got to go. Oh yeah. Did I get a haircut yet? One of these days. It'd probably help if my cam wasn't so high. But my monitor is gigantic. Everyone probably has like a 27-inch, and this is a 48-inch, which is fantastic for gaming. W immersion. Honestly, like, I don't know how you guys play on such tiny screens. I think for me also, like, all ADHD, it's better to have a bigger screen. Like, I remember playing WoW, and I'm like, man, when you're completely immersed, it was amazing. I remember I had a 65-inch screen. That was too big though. Yeah, it was hilarious. You're literally just immersed in another reality. But yeah, also I'm pretty close to the screen, like 2 feet away, 2 feet. Wow. Ow. Okay. DK. Yeah, see? 2 hours. So I'll probably be on for 30 more minutes. 30 minutes, 20 minutes. We'll see. Okay, so I have 22 pages to read. And I have an hour. Let's see if I can get it done. I should be able to. I haven't actually been counting pages, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out together. Let's see those. Okay, so part 2, structures for motivation, scaffolding to overcome obstacles. On the path to any goal, roadblocks are inevitable. When they run into external barriers, they often take an internal toll. The daily grind starts to bore us and eventually burn us out. Stagnation leaves us discouraged. Difficult tasks lead to failure, dejection, and doubt. We begin to question whether we can bounce back, let alone move forward. Character skills aren't enough to travel great distances. Many new skills don't come with a manual, and steeper hills will require a lift. That lift comes in the form of scaffolding, a temporary support structure that enables us to scale heights we cannot reach on our own. It helps us build the resilience to overcome obstacles that threaten to overwhelm us and limit our growth. When psychologists study resilience in experiments, they often create an overwhelming experience by showing people distressing video clips. That's not nice. Whoa. When the pages stick. Think about the last time you saw an intense or unsettling scene on TV or in a movie. Your favorite character gets decapitated in outer space by a lightsaber, or devoured in the upside down by demon bats. If you're anything like my kids and my wife, these scenes keep replaying in your mind, continuing to haunt you long after the end credits stop rolling. Thank you, Duffer Brothers, but psychologists have discovered that it's possible to stop those unwanted flashbacks in their track with a special kind of scaffolding. At first, I assumed it would be a form of therapy. Maybe they'd show you the clip repeatedly to systematically desensitize you. Exposure therapy. Or help you reframe the scene as something they can't turn you. Cognitive reappraisal. But I was wrong. The scaffolding that psychologists offer to boost resilience is a game of Tetris. Yes, Tetris. After people watch an especially upsetting film clip, over the next week they typically have 6 or 7 disturbing flashbacks. But if they're randomly assigned to play a few rounds of Tetris right after watching the scene, it cuts their flashbacks in half over the next week. Somehow the act of rotating, moving, and dropping geometric blocks shields us from intrusive thoughts and averse emotions. To be clear, playing Tetris won't cure your addiction or heal your PTSD. A game is not a substitute for therapeutic or pharmacological interventions, but the effect has been replicated by different research teams. At first, I just found it fascinating. As I dove further into the evidence, I came to see that the Tetris effect illustrates 4 key features of scaffolding. 1. Scaffolding generally comes from other people. It would never have occurred to me to ward off unwelcome images by playing Tetris. The idea came from people with relevant experience and expertise. When our circumstances threaten to overpower us, instead of only looking inward, we can turn outward to mentors, teachers, coaches, role models, or peers. The scaffolding they provide looks and feels different depending on the type of challenge we're facing, but it has the same effect, giving us a foothold or a boost. 2. Scaffolding is tailored to the obstacle in your path. When psychologists suggest Tetris, it's because it has a specific benefit. It changes how your brain constructs mental imagery. Brain scans suggest that Tetris blocks intrusive images by activating our visual spatial circuits. We're too busy processing falling spaces to attend to the threat of unnerving images. Different kinds of games like trivia don't reduce the flashbacks. Tetris is effective scaffolding because it helps you bypass a particular challenge. 3. Scaffolding comes at a pivotal point in time. It doesn't do any good to play Tetris before you watch the movie. There's no imagery yet to disrupt. The structure becomes useful after the disconcerting scene, and the critical period seems to be the next 24 hours. If you wait longer, the memory has already consolidated. So you need to first reactivate the memory of the scene before you turn to Tetris to block it. 4. Scaffolding is temporary. It doesn't take a lifetime of Tetris therapy to recover from a horror movie. Playing for just 10 minutes is enough to interfere with memory consolidation and curtail flashbacks. Once you've gotten the support you need, you're no longer dependent on it. You can move forward without it. Since the type of scaffolding we need varies from one day to the next, we'll find support from different sources at different times for different challenges. We might look to a coach or a mentor to show us that what looks like an insurmountable block can be rotated into a stairway. We might rely on a teammate or a mentee to show us that the key missing piece is right around the corner. We might have to work together to reach the next level when the odds are stacked against us. Too often it feels like our mistakes pile up, while our accomplishments disappear with the right support at the right moments. We can overcome obstacles to growth. To learn how to build these support structures, I went to people who traveled extraordinary distances in the face of extreme physical and emotional challenges. Mountain climbers, musicians, military recruits, and athletes who beat the odds changed how I see scaffolding. I don't have to be a sports fan to appreciate their insights. They apply to every walk of life. Scaffolding unleashes hidden potential by helping us forge paths we couldn't otherwise see. It enables us to find motivation in the daily grind, gain momentum in the face of stagnation, and turn difficulties and doubts into sources of strength. Transforming the Daily Grind, Chapter 4. Infusing passion into practice. It is neither work nor play, purpose nor purposelessness that satisfies. It is the dance between. Bernard de Coven. As she put the finishing touches on her application, a teenager named Evelyn Glean felt butterflies in her stomach. Growing up on a farm in Scotland, she had dreamed of becoming a musician. She was drawn to the rhythm of the sounds around her. The beat of the tractor, the low hum of the cows, the clanging of the blacksmiths, the rustling of the trees in the wind. After 4 years honing her procession skills and several more practicing the piano, Evelyn felt ready. She applied to one of the most prestigious conservatories in the United Kingdom. The Royal Academy of Music accepted only the cream of the crop. Alumni included Elton John and Annie Lennox. When Evelyn arrived in London for her audition, she had 20 minutes to demonstrate her skills. She played the overture to William, Tell on the timpani, various pieces of the snare drum and the xylophone, and a Mozart sonata on the piano. The Academy didn't accept her. Multiple expert panelists voiced concern about a lack of ability. They concluded she had no hope of making it as a professional musician. That's not good. Less than a decade later, Evelyn became the world's first full-time percussion soloist. Normally, the drummers aren't the musicians crowds flock to see. They play in the background or an orchestra or band, like Ringo sitting in the shadow of John and Paul. But Evelyn was so talented that when she toured the world alone, she routinely sold out 100 concerts a year. She won 3 Grammy Awards for Best Classical Instrumental Solo, as well as Best Chamber Music Performance and Best Classical Crossover Album. She performed with Bjork, played on Sesame Street, and been knighted by the Queen. In 2015, she was the first percussionist to win the Polar Music Prize, the musical equivalent of a Nobel Prize, joining the company of Elton John, Yo-Yo Ma, Paul McCartney, Joni Mitchell, Paul Simon, Bruce Springsteen, and Stevie Wonder. When the Royal Academy of Music decided that Evelyn was lacking ability, they weren't wrong. Technically, she didn't have an ear for music. She couldn't really hear it all at all. The world's first and finest solo percussionist is profoundly deaf. Evelyn's ears had begun failing for her when she was 8. By the time she was 12, when people spoke to her, she could barely make out a sound. An audiologist diagnosed her with degenerating nerves and said it would be impossible for her to play music. The degree of difficulty was too high and the distance to travel too far. Being profoundly deaf made mastering music unusually hard work, but Evelyn didn't slave over scales for endless, cheerless hours. Her school's percussion teacher, Ron Forbes, didn't push her through a tedious practice schedule of drills. They worked together to create the scaffolding for her to enjoy the process of learning. When Evelyn first visited Ron, he asked how she would hear music. She had no choice but to adopt a different learning style. She explained that although she couldn't hear all the different pitches with her ears, she could feel the vibrations in her arms, her stomach, her cheekbones, and her scalp. She started to think of her body as a giant ear. As Ron planned the timpani, Evelyn put her hands on the wall, learning to associate different pitches with different body parts. Some of the higher notes resonated around her face and neck. The lower notes mostly reverberated in her legs and feet. She started practicing barefoot to feel the vibrations more intensely. At the start of every lesson, Evelyn relished the challenge of sensing the sounds, and she gained mastery. Ron narrowed the pitch intervals. It was like leveling up in a video game. She was making increasingly fine distinctions between notes using only her fingertips. Soon Ron was stroking her enthusiasm by giving her a whole new set of challenges to master. See this piece by Bach? Do you think you can play it on a snare drum? Continually varying the task and raising the bar made learning a joy. There was never a distinction between fun and hard work, she tells me. I was like a sponge. She went on to develop her own versions of Bach's music in contemporary drum style. We're often told that if we want to develop our skills, we need to push ourselves through long hours of monotonous practice. But the best way to unlock hidden potential isn't to suffer through the daily grind, it's to transfer the daily grind into a source of daily joy. It's not a coincidence that in music, the term for practice is play. If you want to become an expert in any field, it's not enough to be a freak of nature. No one is born with the innate ability to play Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, pulling a bubbling, baked Alaska out of the oven. Juggle 7 balls at a time, or even spell words like onomatopoeia and mayonnaise. It takes practice to master a skill. Ever since the notion of achieving mastery through 10,000 hours of practice took the world by storm, coaches, parents, and teachers have been fascinated by a particular kind of practice. Deliberate practice is she structured repetition of a task to improve performance based on clear goals and immediate feedback. How much of that you need, however, is more nuanced than the 10,000 hour idea would have us believe. Research reveals that the actual number of hours required for excellence varies dramatically person by activity. What's clear is that deliberate practice is particularly valuable for improving skills in predictable tasks with consistent moves, swinging a golf club, solving a Rubik's Cube, or playing playing a violin. Every child prodigy have been known to dedicate long, obsessive hours to deliberate practice. Mozart's violinist father put him through rigorous drills and performance schedules, so grueling that one biographer called it unconditional slavery. But that kind of fanatical practice takes a toll. Mozart wrote letters about how drained he felt, confessing as a teenager that my fingers are aching from composing to so many recitatives, and in his late 20s that he was tired from so much performing. There's a reason to believe that he succeeded in spite of his compulsive practice, not because of it. Research demonstrates that people who are obsessed with their work put in longer hours, yet fail to perform any better than their peers. They're more likely to fall victim to both physical and emotional exhaustion. The monotony of deliberate practice puts them at risk for burnout and for bore-out. Yes, bore-out is an actual term in psychology. Whereas burnout is the emotional exhaustion that accumulates when you're overloaded, bore-out is the emotional deadening you feel when you're understimulated. Although it takes deliberate practice to achieve greater things, we shouldn't drill so hard that we drive the joy out of the activity and turn it into an obsessive slog. In a study of concert pianists who attained to international acclaim before turning 40, few were obsessed with their craft. In their early years, most practiced the piano only an hour a day. They weren't raised by slave drivers or drill sergeants. Their parents responded to their intrinsic motivation with enthusiasm. And they became teenagers. They steadily increased their daily effort, but didn't become an obsession or a choice. They practiced because they were interested in what they were doing. Psychologist Lauren Sosnick explains, and because they enjoyed working with their teacher. Elite musicians are rarely driven by obsessive compulsion. They're usually fueled by what psychologists call harmonious passion. Harmonious passion is taking joy in a process rather than feeling pressure to achieve an outcome. You're no longer practicing under the specter of should. I should be studying. I'm supposed to practice. You're drawn into a web of want. I feel like studying. I'm excited to practice. That makes it easier to find flow. You slip quickly into the zone of total absorption, where the world melts away and you become one with your instrument. Instead of controlling your life, practicing enriches your life. The importance of passion isn't unique to music. Across 127 studies with over 45,000 people, persistence was more likely to translate into performance when passion was present. The question is how to build the scaffolding to bring that passion into practice. My favorite answer is called deliberate play. Progress. I have to, 100%. I want to. This is a chart. When you have to do something, it becomes a lot harder. But when you want to do something, you're going to get there much further. So you have to do something you want to do. And yeah, there's stuff you have to do. But yeah, in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it really just recommends that you automate those tasks because you have to do them. And so just do them the same way because they have to be done. Otherwise you get decision fatigue, and yeah, then you'll have less space to do the things that you want to do. And yeah, and things that you want to do that you need to do it. Because it's the things you want to do. The things that you don't want to do that you don't need to do, absolutely just don't do it. Unless, don't do it. Unless it's matters of the heart where it actually does benefit you, even though you don't want to do it and you don't need to do it. But if it is going to benefit you, you need to reflect on why you don't want to do it and don't need to do it. But in all likelihood, if you don't really need to do it, then you probably don't have to. So, anyways, back to the book. Play by play. Deliberate play is a structured activity that's designed to make skill developed enjoyable. It blends elements of deliberate practice and free play. Like free play, deliberate play is fun, but it's structured for learning and mastery along with the recreation. It's built to break complex tasks into simpler parts so you can hone a specific skill. When asked Evelyn Glean how she practices, she says she spends nearly all her time in deliberate play. When she gets bored, she switches instruments, gracefully bouncing back and forth between different percussion tools. If I'm trying to stay interested in a new marimba skill, I'll transfer it to a drum kit, she tells me. Mixing it up breaks up the monotony and keeps her passion in harmony. There's absolutely no routine, she says, laughing. That spells hostage to me. Deliberate play often involves introducing novelty and variety into practice. This can be in the ways you learn, the tools you use, the goals you set, and the people with whom you interact. But depending on the skill you're trying to build, deliberate play might take the form of a game, a role play, or an improvisational exercise. Which is why I love Twitch, because then you can just immerse yourself in a stream and role play. Shakespearean therapy. When I first read the research on deliberate play, it opened my eyes to the possibility of bringing harmonious passion into any kind of skill. I started wondering if I could transform the grind in more traditional job training. In an experiment with healthcare professionals, my colleagues and I found that their burnout dropped after we nudged them to inject a bit of deliberate play into their most stressful tasks. An allergy nurse started introducing herself as Nurse Quickshot, which immediately put her young patients at ease. She let them time her, and when they came back for their next visit, they would ask for Nurse Quickshot and challenge her to beat her previous time. There's a movement to bring deliberate play into professional development. Medical schools have started offering improvisational comedy. Courses to bring levity into the challenge of learning to interpret nonverbal cues in one exercise. Foreign movie students watch their classmates shout out nonsense words and try to decipher the meaning by observing their gestures and facial expressions. Students report that along with being enjoyable, deliberate play makes them better doctors, and the initial evidence is encouraging. After these kinds of improv, sessions were added to communication course in pharmacy school. Students performed better on patient examinations. They were better equipped to identify a patient's chief complaint and empathize with the patient's concerns. These benefits aren't limited to healthcare. In some small classes, students were invited to learn through playing the role of a salesperson and customer. In one exercise, the customer would walk up holding a box, and the salesperson would ask what was in it, with the objective of keeping the conversation going for 3 minutes without skipping a beat. Over the next month, when they were sent to sell tickets for a professional sports team, the students who participated in this role play exercise sold 43 more tickets than a control group of students who had not completed the training. They also enjoyed the course more. The scaffolding for play is often set up by a teacher or coach, but it's impossible to make real strides on your own. That's also why I practice the Michael Scott method of being a manager. Creating a low-stress environment and making people feel like appreciated and happy. The end result is people perform better. It's not rocket science. People are happy to come to work. People are happy to be around you. They know you're not going to stress them out. And they want to come to work. And they're there to support them. But yeah. Oops. Let me read this. These benefits aren't limited to healthcare. In some sales classes, students were invited to learn through playing the role of a salesperson and customer. In one exercise, the customer would walk up holding a box, and the salesperson would ask what is in it, with the objective of keeping the conversation going for 3 minutes without skipping a beat over the next month. When they were sent to sell tickets for a professional sports team, the students who participated in this role-play exercise sold 40% more tickets than a control group of students who had not completed this training. They also enjoyed the course more. The scaffolding for deliberate play is often set up by a teacher or coach, but it's possible to make real strides on their own. If you want to improve your sight reading at the piano, you could challenge yourself to see how many notes you can get right on new pieces and track your progress week by week. If you're a Scrabble player hoping to improve your anagram aptitude, you can practice drawing random sets of tiles and see how many words you can spell in a minute. Deliberate play has become especially popular in sports. Extensive evidence shows that athletes who specialize early in a single sport tend to peak quickly and then flame it out. Pounding the pavement from a young age puts them at greater risk for both physical and mental health challenges. With deliberate play, it's easier to sustain enjoyment and achieve greater things. In sports, deliberate play is typically organized around a subcomponent of a professional or match in tennis. For example, you might hone your serving skills by challenging yourself to see how many consecutive serves you can make. Success might be defeating an opponent, outdoing yourself, or beating the clock. You're not counting your hours, you're tracking your improvement. Your score is not a symbol of victory, it's a gauge of progress. In a small experiment in Brazil, sports psychologists compared deliberate play and deliberate practice as strategies for teaching basketball to young players. Some of the athletes spent over half their training time in deliberate practice. Their coaches took them through dribbling, passing, and shooting drills with regular feedback, with and without defenders. The remaining athletes spent nearly 3/4 of their training time in deliberate play. To develop their skills, the coaches designed games instead of drills. Sometimes players had a teammate who was allowed to pass but not shoot. Other times they played at a disadvantage, 1 against 2 or 3 against 4. Several months later, the psychologists tested the basketball intelligence and creativity of both groups, measuring their ability to move to open spots on the court and make passes that eluded defenders. It was deliberate play, not deliberate practice. They propelled significant improvement. By fueling harmonious passion, deliberate play can prevent bore-out and burnout. Although it might sound similar in gamification, deliberate play is fundamentally different. Gamification is often a gimmick and attempt to add bells and whistles to a tedious task. The aim is to offer a dopamine rush that distracts from boredom and staves off exhaustion. Sure, a leaderboard might motivate you to push through the pain, but it's not enough to trick you into liking a routine you hate. In deliberate play, an actual redesign the task itself to make it both motivating and developmental. The best example I've seen was dreamed up by a basketball player. Practice without play. Seething hatred for the coach. Faking an injury so you don't have to do the next drill. Sabotaging equipment so no one has to do the next drill. Hiding in the bathroom. Somehow feeling burnout and bore out at the same time. Out of practice. As soon as I read about Brandon Payne's philosophy of practice, I had to call him. When Brandon was growing up in the Charlotte yeah. Sweet nutrients. Oh yeah. When Brandon was growing up in the Charlotte suburbs, his dreams were dominated by basketball. As the son of a basketball coach, he learned the fundamentals early. After spending afternoons, evenings, and weekends shooting hoops on his driveway, he became a sharpshooter known for swishing free throws and draining three-pointers. But after arriving at Wingate University with aspirations to walk into the basketball team, Brandon ran into a problem. When he saw an open spot, he couldn't beat his opponent to it. When he faked to one side and dribbled to the other, they stayed with him. Eventually, Brandon's game hit a wall, and he was told his basketball career was over. It crushed me. Brandon laments. There's no worse feeling than someone telling you they're done when you still love to play. Although Brandon loved to play, when it came to developing skills beyond shooting, he didn't love to practice, to leave defenders in the dust, and create his own shot. He needed to work on his quickness and agility. I was limited athletically, he admits, and I didn't do the things I needed to do. He didn't do the necessary sprints to build his speed, the essential stretching exercises to build his flexibility, or the required drills to improve his footwork. Brandon transitioned to coaching. Now he had to motivate athletes to do some of the same drills he had avoided. They loathed the wheezing exhaustion of full court sprints that burned their bodies and the repetitive humdrum of footwork exercises that bored their minds. Like Brandon, they loved to shoot, but that harmonious passion didn't spill over into the dullest drills. It seemed to make them even duller. The joy of jump shots intensified the dread of endless dribbling. Passion for one task can lead us to neglect and less exciting ones on our plate. It's a pattern I've demonstrated in Search with a former student, Jihaya Shin. In one study of Korean salespeople, we found that the more they loved their favorite tasks in their job, the worse they performed, and their least favorite task. We replicated that effect in an experiment giving people the boring tasks of copying names and numbers from a phone book. They made more errors if we had randomly assigned them to watch fascinating YouTube videos first. The contrast between the two tasks made the data entry even more mind-numbing. Practice involves multiple skills, and it's rare to love them all. Brandon started looking for ways to work harmonious passion into every element of practice. Although he couldn't subtract the pain from the drills, he could add pleasure to the process. Instead of trying to push players through the most punishing parts of practice, he was going to reimagine the practice to pull them in. I wanted to create a system to make sure no players would fall victim to what I created for myself. Brandon reflects, he would build the scaffolding to help athletes reach their potential by harnessing their love of the game. In 2009, Brandon set up a training center for basketball players. One day he crossed paths with a young NBA player whose weakness had been readily apparent to scouts. One wrote that he was extremely limited by his poor physical tools. Another lamented he doesn't have the size, the strength, or the lateral quickness, athleticism. He probably is never going to end up being a star in the league because of a lack of explosiveness. Brandon recognized some of his own shortcomings in the player and handed him his business card. They started working together the next morning. In his first full season after training with Brandon, the player set the NBA record for most three-pointers made. A few years later, was named the NBA's most valuable player in back-to-back sessions. His name is Stephen Curry. Changing the game. Stephen Curry is widely regarded as the best shooter in NBA history. It's often said that what Michael Jordan did for the slam dunk, Curry has done for the three-pointer. He revolutionized the sport by turning it into a marksmanship contest. The two previous record holders for the most three-pointers as a career took over 1,300 games to set their standards. Curry eclipsed them in just 789 games. Despite being the son of an NBA player, Curry didn't get a single scholarship offer from top college basketball players. Coming out of high school, he was massively underrated on a 5-star scale. He was branded as only a 3-star recruit. The summer before his senior year, a coach at Davidson College went to see him play. He was awful. He threw the ball into the stands. He dropped passes. He dribbled off his foot. He missed shots, the coach recalls, but never once during that game. Did he blame an official or point a finger at a team? He was always cheering for the bench, and he never flinched. That stuck with me. Those weren't the first signs of Curry's character skills. When he was a kid hanging around with his father's team, one of the players noticed that Curry was like a little sponge, soaking up information everywhere he went. In high school, even when he was struggling, he had the determination to support his team and the discipline to keep his cool. But research suggests that the people with the most discipline actually use the least amount of it. My colleague Angela Duckworthy found that instead of relying on willpower to push through a strenuous situation, they changed the situation to make it less strenuous. A clear example comes from research on the marshmallow test. It's one of the most famous and most misunderstood studies in the history of psychology. You're probably familiar with the classic version. Psychologists put a marshmallow on a plate and told 4-year-olds that if you could wait a few minutes to eat, you would get 2 marshmallows. Preschoolers who managed to resist the urge to gobble out the marshmallows now for a bigger, fluffier treat later end up scoring higher on the SAT in teenagers. Finding that's been replicated recently. When I first watched the videos of the marshmallows test, I was expecting to see a subset of kids with superior willpower. What I saw instead was kids creating bits of scaffolding to remove the need for willpower. Some covered their eyes on the marshmallow. Others sat on their hands. One mushed the marshmallow into a ball and bounced it, turning it into a toy. They had improvised their own forms of deliberate play. That's what Brandon Payne did for Stephen Curry. For the love of practice. Boop, boop, boop. Which is the next part. Brandon had been training Curry for over a decade now. He told me he began with the basic principle. There is no boring in our workouts. He set up the scaffolding to make the hardest parts of practice easier, to help Curry make more progress while relying less on sheer discipline, to make practice fun while building technical skills. Brandon created a menu of deliberate play activities. In 21, you get a minute score, 21 points with 3-pointers, jump shots, and layouts. Worth 1, but after each shot, you have to sprint in the middle of the court and back. Getting out of breath during the game stimulates the fatigue of the real game. Every drill is a game, Brandon explains. There's always a time to beat. There's always a number to beat. If you beat the number and you don't beat the game, you still lose. The downside of competing against others is that you can win without improving. They might have a bad day, or you might benefit from a stroke of good luck. In Brandon's form of deliberate play, the person you're competing with is your past self, and the bar you're raising for is for your future self. You're not aiming for perfect, you're shooting for better. The only way to win is to grow. I assumed it would be ideal to practice one skill until you make progress, and only then move on to the next one. But rather than repeating the same challenges over and over, Brandon mixes them up. In 20-minute intervals, Brandon has Curry bouncing from one shooting and quickness challenge to another. The variety isn't just motivating, it's also better for learning. Hundreds of experiments show that people improve faster when they alternate between different skills. Psychologists call it interleaving, and it works in areas ranging from painting to math, especially when the skills being developed are similar to complex. Even small tweaks like shifting between thinner and thicker paint brushes or slightly adjusting the weight of a basketball can make a difference. Deliberate play is particularly valuable for transforming the grind of summer practice. When there are multiple games per week, many athletes have little trouble staying motivated. In the offseason, though, it's easy to lose interest. After raising star Luka Doncic showed up to preseason out of shape, he started training with Brandon and dropped weight while gaining speed. Unless you're playing pickup, summers are sometimes long. The workouts can become a little monotonous if you let them. Steve Curry told the reporter, deliberate play creates a game-like situation with pressure, he said, which means you have to stay locked in and focused. Over a decade of training, Curry realized his hidden potential. What he lacks in size at 6'2" and 185 pounds, he now makes up in explosiveness as well as accuracy. He gives much of the credit to deliberate play that Brandon organizes. It brings harmonious passion into practice, and he gets more of it because of his determination. He loves the process. That's one of the things that ties all great athletes together. Curry's longtime coach, Steve Kerr, observes, there's a routine, but it's really enjoyed each day. There's a passion that comes with it, and that's what sustains it over time. When you love something like those guys do you work at it, you get better, and you just keep going. Although it may not turn into a professional athlete, deliberate play can amplify your motivation and accelerate your development. One day I saw a video of a YouTuber who follows Steve Curry's training regimen for 2 hours a day. At the start, he made only 8% of his three-pointers. Over 50 days of deliberate play, he traveled a great distance, making 40% of those same shots. It's clear that deliberate play can spark and sustain harmonious passion. But can that passion be maintained over long periods of time? Evelyn Glean thinks so she's felt it for half a century. She knows what research shows, even deliberate play shouldn't be done all day, every day. She learned this lesson the hard way. So you can take a break when you earn one toxic cultures. You need good cultures. You want one vibrant cultures. Yeah, here's a photo of it. Ooh. Give me a break. Give me a break. Okay, so I'm almost done. Hashtag ad. Okay. What if I talk like this? Besitos. I first saw Evelyn play in 2012 during the opening ceremony of the Olympics. To build to a crescendo, she was invited to lead 1,000 drummers. Standing in front of an array of multiple drums, she progressed from rhythmic taps to rapid pounds, and the stadium crackled with energy. Later, when a gold medalist entered the stadium carrying the Olympic torch, Evelyn introduced the world to new sound on an instrument she helped design. The Gleany concert allophone. It looked like a set of mushroom-shaped bells, and as she struck it with 4 mallets, it sounded like a warmer, more uplifting version of orchestral chimes. I had no idea she had a physical disability, let alone one that prevented her from hearing the music she had made. Back when Evelyn was a teenager auditioning for the Royal Academy of Music, the experts on the panel simply didn't believe a deaf girl could become a professional musician. She challenged them to pay attention to the caliber of the performance rather than the impairment of the person delivering it. After her second audition, the Academy didn't just admit her, they ended up changing the rules for the entire UK to evaluate applications on their musical skills, not their physical abilities. As a full-time music student at the Academy, Evelyn loved to practice. She started out playing 2 or 3 hours a day, but it wasn't long before she felt the pressure to take on more. When she saw her peers putting in long hours, she noticed a sense of compulsion creeping into her mind. She asked herself how long she should be practicing and wondered if she should practice more. She started waking up an hour earlier and practicing later into the evening, but the feeling of obligation sucked the playful rhythm out of the percussion, and she saw her creativity and progress evaporate with it. She began to realize that there was such a thing as over-practice. To make sure music didn't become a grind, she decided to take regular breaks. It turns out that taking breaks has at least three benefits. First, time away from practice helps sustain harmonious passion. Research indicates that even micro breaks or 5 to 10 minutes are enough to reduce fatigue and raise energy. It's not just about preventing burnout. Research reveals that when we work nights and weekends, our interest and enjoyment in our tasks drop. Even just reminding you that it's Saturday is enough to reduce your intrinsic motivation. Realize that you could be doing something fun and relaxing instead. Yo-Yo Ma limits his practice to between 3 and 6 hours a day and strives to avoid early morning and late night sessions. Chopin urged his students not to practice more than 2 hours a day in the summer. Second, breaks unlock fresh ideas. In my own research with Jihai Sin, I found that taking breaks boosts creativity when you feel the harmonious passion toward a task. Your interest keeps the problem active in the back of your mind, and you're more likely to incubate new ways of framing it and unexpected ways of solving it. Lin-Manuel Miranda dreamed up his blockbuster musical Hamilton while daydreaming on vacation, sitting on a pool float with a margarita in his hand. That's why Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and Mahler all regularly took walks nearly as long as their work days. Third, breaks deepen learning. In one experiment, taking a 10-minute break after learning something improved recall for students by 10 to 30%, and even more for stroke and Alzheimer's patients. Once about 24 hours have passed, information starts to fade from our memories. We fall down a forgetting curve. It's well established that we can avoid that forgetting curve with spaced repetition. Interspersing breaks into practice. At first, you might practice once an hour, and then start taking longer breaks until you're practicing once a day. Obsession leads us to see rest as taking a foot off the gas pedal. We don't stop until we're pushed ourselves to the edge of exhaustion, and it's the price to pay for excellence. Under harmonious passion, it's easier to recognize that rest is a supply of fuel. We take regular reprieves to maintain energy and avoid burnout. When we should take a break and when we actually take a break. And it just shows the picture. I'll show you the picture. It's just the, gas bar. When we actually take a break is when we're out of gas and we're just like, burnt out. Relaxing is not a waste of time. It's an investment in well-being. Breaks are not a distraction. They're a chance to reset attention and incubate ideas. Play is not a frivolous activity. It's a source of joy, a path of mastery. If you watch Evelyn today, you'll see that she exudes the same joy practicing alone as she expresses performing in front of the entire world. But she rarely practices in more than 20-minute intervals because taking a break, sometimes I feel like I really want to pick up a pair of sticks and do something, and other times I think, no, I just want to sit here and stare at the walls. Other times, I might want to write a little something in my notebook or read a good book. She tells me that when she loses interest on focus, she just stops playing altogether. Worthwhile practice is where progress is made. It's all about quality, not quantity. You need to feel there's a shift. Something is different when you walked out of the room. Not long ago, a mother contracted Evelyn for a consultation. After going through a series of music exams, her daughter had lost interest in practicing the violin. The mother was hoping Evelyn would give her a peep talk and motivate her to keep practicing. Instead, Evelyn improvised some deliberate play. She challenged the girl to play pieces backwards, to come up with 10 ways not to play the violin, and to incorporate sounds from her favorite TV show and her favorite animal. The girl left the session beaming. Before her practice time was focused on an outcome of being judged, Evelyn says, deliberate play taught her that the real outcome is her enjoyment. With that enjoyment, potential stays hidden. You gotta enjoy what you're doing. That's what it means. Yeah, because, there's another book I was reading, and it mentions purpose over passion. But the thing is, part of your purpose is what brings joy. Others, like it mentioned, like the quality of your work will just suffer. And even if you choose to do something silly, and you think, oh, I should be doing this and that like everyone else, really, if you did this and that, you wouldn't be happy. And if your focus is just wealth, you're gonna have wealth and just be unhappy. And guess what? It's gonna take years, or you'll just never recover. You'll lose your childlike self, and then that's it. And then the people who do, the corpos, they're just broken, and they don't recover. And they end up spending a fortune because they end up over time, over decades of working, trying to feel like kids again. And tangent. Okay, well, I have like 15 minutes before I gotta go, and so I'm gonna use that to eat lunch and dance and go like I always do. So hope everyone has a good day, and I will come back tomorrow. Besitos.